Chris, thank you very much. Good morning and thanks for joining us. So there's lots of opposition to this deal for various reasons. What are Outa's main opposition points?
Yeah, so look, Nersa is conducting public hearings to hear about any public comments in respect of an application for generation licenses by Powership. Public hearings are taking place on Thursday. Outa has submitted a document to Nersa and will be presenting orally on Thursday about its opposition to these applications. So, in short, Outa believes that that is completely procedurally incorrect for Nersa to be hearing these applications by Powership, whilst there are any number of issues which make the Powership application invalid and premature. Some of these include, for example, the fact that the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment has rejected the environmental authorization from these projects. There is litigation in process by an unsuccessful bidder to declare the award of these projects to Powership's illegal based on procedural grounds as well as conflicts of interest and corruption. Parliament is conducting an investigation into the whole matter, and Eskom has not given power purchase agreements for these projects. Neither has the port authorities given port authorization for the projects. So all in all, a completely deficient application by Powership, missing all the information that is normally required to be presented with your application. This is missing and making the hearing of this application completely unprocedural, as well as irrational, and I believe Nersa should send these applications back to Powership until they are ready.
Just to latch on to something you've mentioned there, you said that the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment refused to approve the environmental impact assessments. Just to take that one step further, I read that the Green Scorpions believe that Powership, in fact, deliberately misled the department. However, that sort of still having to be proved, Gwede Mantashe, Minister of the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, has said that this is an emergency situation. We can acknowledge that given what's recently happened at Medupi, but the minister is saying there that the situation should be treated as an emergency situation with emergency application processes in place, and that the usual procedural regulations should not necessarily delay this process. What are the obvious risks with that kind of an approach?
You know, this idea of bypassing all the normal rules and regulations and the law in order to push through a so-called emergency procurement has been conducted and was part of many parts of the state capture program. It is used to justify all kinds of illegal actions. And under the cloak of emergency, all kinds of illegal activities can occur. So it is really important that we understand, although it's being touted as an emergency procurement, this is a 20-year procurement. It's not a short-term emergency procurement. It's a 20-year long procurement.
Chris, I'm glad you touched on that. Sorry to jump in here, because that was going to be my next question, is that how can you in one breath say it's an emergency deal, but then in the next breath say, oh, well, let's make this for 20 years? What do you think is the government's reasoning behind that?
Yeah, it's really hard to understand, and this is part of the opposition that is growing to these projects. There is certainly a place in the mix for Powerships as a short-term emergency power supply in cases of natural disasters, war zones. For example, in the port city of Beirut, in certain cities in West Africa ravaged by war, cities require emergency power, and a short-term emergency measure is appropriate. But to procure these for 20 years, there are only one winner, really. It is the supplier of liquefied natural gas, which is 100% imported and accounts for something like 60% of the overall cost over 20 years of these projects. 100% imported, of course. The car power ships themselves are never owned in South Africa. They are leased from the Turkish owners. And again, this represents imported content. All of the money is going outside of South Africa. It is exactly like e-tolls, which is another matter that Outa, for whom I'm the energy advisor, are opposing very strongly. These kind of procurements where all the money flows out of the country are really not in the interest of South Africa.
Chris, why do you think, very quickly, I know it's a very broad question, why is the energy department or energy provision in South Africa so prone to dodgy deals, corruption? We've seen Eskom play an absolutely key and central role to state capture.
Yeah, look, I don't want to go as far as suggesting that the DMRE is fundamentally corrupt and is entering into fundamentally dodgy deals. I think they are misinformed and very poorly advised. There are allegations of illegal activities, corruption, and conflict of interest, nepotism. But these still have to be proven, and there is a court action pending, which is going to be taking place in the middle of September. And the point that I've made in this submission by Outa, that it is completely premature to be holding public hearings for the granting of generation licenses to a company who make up two-thirds of this procurement under the Emergency Risk Mitigation IPP program. When this company is involved in such legal action, it would be better to wait for the outcome when we know whether or not there have been corrupt activities, whether these contracts have been properly awarded or not. But to grant licenses at this stage is completely irregular and premature.
Well, thank you for your time this morning. As always, great to speak to you. Chris Yelland, energy advisor for Outa, speaking to us there.